Okay, so Srinu, um, tell me a little bit about your story. You know, you built Policy Budget. It's one of the larger aggregators in India. Where did all that intellect come from? Where did the knowledge base to kind of put this together? Tell me about the genesis, even before Policy Budget. What happened? Where'd you get all this intellect to kind of do this?
Well, it's a very long story, a lot of experience. Um, I would say it's about 20 years of experience in property and casualty insurance industry in North America. So I came to US as a programmer and worked for insurance aggregators and insurance carriers for about 6, 7 years. And we were the first property and casualty comparative rater. We built the first comparative rater in US. This was back in 2001, where most of the carriers did not have web services. Some of them we used to script, some we used to build proprietary rating engines. Um, so we have a lot of experience, building these insurance raters um, for almost 70 to 72 carriers here in the US. And then I started a small team in India because we wanted to deliver these raters faster. Um, and then India at that time had no knowledge of private insurance or property and casualty insurance or business insurance. The terms like, general liability or, property insurance are, nobody knew about them. All they knew about was life insurance corporation in India. So I used to spend like 4 or 5 hours because the time difference. Um, I used to spend about 4 or 5 years starting to explain to them what is insurance, what's an MGA, what's a wholesaler, what's an aggregator, what's an agent, and what's a producer, and then what are the lines of business, other than life insurance, we have. And North American insurance market is much developed compared to India even today, with all the SIC codes and ICS codes, the because the market is much mature, much bigger.
Mhm.
It's a huge market. For hundreds of years, people are buying insurance here. It's just part of life. Um, so we built a beautiful team in India. So these programmers that I work with have worked on several raters. We in fact built web services for some of the insurance carriers here. Um, we understand ACARD standards, which I don't are still not in India. India hasn't come up with a standard for auto for connecting multiple systems. Everybody has their own XML. HDFC Bank has its own XML. Bharti AXA has its own XML. Everybody has their own XML. The only good part is since they started, now everybody's on XML. In US, they had to transition from AS400 systems to text files to communicating through XML, web services, and so on and so forth. So, lot of experience in the US building comparative raters, and these raters have transacted billions of dollars of business, and also we built a team that understands underwriting and processing for commercial lines and personal lines.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, that is the experience that got me there. But
Yeah, now you said you built the first aggregator in North America, and I think we talked a little bit. So you actually created a patent on that, is that right?
yeah, yeah. So when we built the first comparative operator, we then filed a patent for comparative rating, and this included, a comparative rater using multiple methods, whether it is proprietary rating, XML web services, or screen scripting. So we filed a patent. This was back in 2004.
Hmm.
just on that technology that we built at that time.
So now you kind of take me to the early days of policy budget.
Right.
So you have this team built. You've done a lot of development and stuff in the U.S. Aggregators.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about your idea, and how, and the development of all that. What's the genesis of policy budget?
Yeah. So that's a good question. So meaning I was watching the insurance industry for, I think, since 2004, just because I've seen so much, development, so much of insurance in North America. I was starting to watch the insurance industry in India because it was starting to get privatized. A lot of private players started to come into the picture. And then I was trying to see if this aggregation model is going to start in India. So we were watching the industry very closely. And then IRDA, which is basically Insurance Regulation and Development Authority, said they're going to give license for aggregators. That's when I approached them, saying that, hey, I want to be one of the aggregators. I have a lot of experience building these things. And I'm from India, and I really want to build something in India that, good, that adds value to the society there. So they did come up with aggregator licenses, but then they said an aggregator can only generate a lead, meaning he can't service the customer, he can only generate a lead, which is not how developed markets work. A carrier should be more focused on product, the product that they're building, more underwriting, more packaging the product, building the appetite for it. An aggregator is the guy who is basically servicing the policy. He's selling, he's talking to the customer, he's making whatever endorsements or whatever the customer needs, and servicing the customer. And he's able to aggregate multiple rates and give the best policy to the customer. And a lead for us to build a platform and to get leads or generate leads was defeating the purpose of aggregation. You're selling the leads. You're becoming Google now. So every time I go to India, I used to go to India every 2 months, and I used to go talk to the IRD official, saying that, hey, the market dictates what each one is paid. I don't think the government should be in the dictating what I make and what an insurance carrier should make and what somebody else should make. I said, this is how North American market works. I gave them a few white papers from here. I used to talk to them. I used to say, an aggregator can be the guy who's servicing, so he should get a commission, so he has a skin in the game, and he can do a better job. He's not Google. And then there were several changes to the rules. It went from giving insurance aggregator license to generate leads. Then it went to, okay, you can take the commission for new business. Then we said, well, if I invest so much money and acquire a customer, usually customer acquisition cost takes 1.5 years to get back, get the money back. So you need at least 3 years to make your money on a customer. So I said, well, we have to get the renewal insurance. So ultimately, they made aggregators similar to brokers, and they can take new business insurance and renewal insurance in the market now. Everybody understands how it all works, so it's much more mature, and it took that step within the last 4 or 5 years. So I think that's a good what they call good thing that the government has done. They've acted fast and took care of it. Does it answer the question, or did I?
Yeah. So where do you think that policy budget is right now? Where do you think that you build out all the technology? Tell me about take me to the early years. Take me from all the tough start
Right.
to where it is right now.
Right. So we built the technology. So since we had an experience building comparative raters, it was not Meaning we already had the framework in place. We have seen this. We have built so many raters that we know what is the perfect configuration of this framework. So we built this framework. I visited several insurance carriers. They are mostly in Delhi and Bombay. Started getting their API, started doing the integration. So we are now integrated with over 20 insurance carriers. So once the integrations were in place, then we built the CRM system and the sales CRM basically to be able to close a lead. It shows you the whole. It covers the story from when they make the first click in Google all the way till the bind is done. So we have several technologies in there which makes us much more efficient than the other players that are out there in the market. So we built the framework, we did the integrations, and then we started to put the team in place.
So if I understand you right, you're telling me that a lead might come from Google.
Right.
It's integrated directly into your custom CRM system.
That's right.
Through and then they can hit your custom CRM system.
Right.
And go through your telephony system.
Right. So it's fully integrated system from the time the lead is generated to the lead popping up on the CRM system and making an automatic phone call to the customer. And we also have technology in place that alerts us when the customer is back on the quote again. So and the call goes through. The call is made automatically and passed on to the agent. So we have gotten to a point where we can generate, if we want to generate, say, if we have 20 salespeople right now in our office from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., we can generate 40 leads or 50 leads or whatever number of leads those 20 agents require. So even that is integrated into the CRM system. So as an agent comes in and he logs in, he says, I'm available. And as the sales lead comes and says, okay, there are 10 agents between 9 to 10, we need 30 leads. Automatically, our API calls the Google AdWords API, and we start the spend and we start to generate the lead. So the whole framework is put in place where not only does the ads are displayed when the agents are available, it is much more efficient way to reach the customer.
Well, so then you're telling me, so you got it already where it goes from Google
Right.
all the way straight through.
Right.
You're giving that guy a call
Right.
almost instantaneously
Right.
when he's asking for something.
Right.
And then you're saying when that customer comes back to your site, now how do you do some cookies or something like that? He comes
Yeah.
back to your site and
Yeah.
he's there.
So there are studies that show that a customer has more likelihood of buying a policy or buying whatever product or service when he is on that, when his mind is on that. If you call a customer who made a quote today morning when he's in the office, he may not be interested in talking to you, or he's not in that mindset. So when the customer is in that mindset of buying a policy or buying whatever it is, if you're able to reach to him, then he won't get frustrated that you're reaching to him or you're calling him. It's not like a harassing phone call. But in fact, he'll be much more interested to talk to you because he's looking at that right now and he has several questions, whether it is the coverages or deductibles or whatever it is, and you're much more likely to close the sale. So our conversion ratios compared to the industry standards, we are twice as effective. And our agents are making at least twice the premium that is made by traditional agents, whether they work for an insurance carrier or other wholesalers. So we have spent tremendous amount of time and resources in building a framework, not just the framework and the model and the technology, but the people. So we have trained these people to use these systems efficiently, and we have created a culture of using these systems. Now all we have to do is, okay, we have the We have the technology in place, the framework in place, the people, the process, and the systems all in place. Now all we have to do is start scaling these things
Yeah.
and add life insurance and other lines of business, and then scale the whole thing out.
Now, you told me one earlier that you've not taken any funding, and
Right.
that was astounding to me
Right,
because I know all the other players in the market have taken millions and millions of dollars,
right,
and so I guess it makes sense
right,
why you're being so efficient is because you funded this yourself. This is self-funded,
right,
and so this is real money to you.
right, absolutely. So we when you so first of all, number one is I believe that if you put your own money from your pocket, you'll pay much more attention to it. You'll be much more efficient with it. You'll be much more efficient in spending those funds correctly. I have a lot of passion for this insurance industry as a whole. I worked my whole life in the insurance industry. And I think and the advantage that I had was, additionally was, we already have all these companies in insurance industry in North America. So we had a lot of support from Selexis, from Printcode, and we had the frameworks in place. So we had a lot of help. Meaning it's not just the money; it's the team, and the experience and the resources that we have as a group of companies. But yes, we put our own money. We didn't take any funding because we want to first prove the model and the efficiency 100%. And you don't need millions of dollars to prove that a model works. Okay, so we now are at a stage where the model is starting to is working, where we have written significant premium with several carriers, insurance carriers. I believe that we are probably the third largest insurance aggregator in India. And now is the time to start scaling up.
So it sounds to me like you put together a high performance sports car.
That's exactly right.
And because you kind of got it so it's so automated, it's going from a lead
Right,
all the way through to where a customer gets that call right away.
right,
If the customer comes back on your web, it's almost like somebody coming into a store.
right,
They know you're there and you're
Right.
talking to them and everything like that.
right,
It sounds like you're at a point that maybe a partner needs to add the gasoline
right,
to this sports car
right,
to get this thing to drive and as fast as it possibly can.
right, and win some races for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So help me, tell me what it might feel like having a partner and what you might look for in a partner
Right.
and is that scary because you've owned you've not done it with a partner. So tell me about what you're looking for with a partner and that type of thing.
Right. Well, a company is like a baby. Okay. The first year, a lot of work, very hard to survive in the market. Second year, they'll start to walk. They'll start to see things. Third year, they have the brain of their own. They're starting to, they're high energy. They're starting to move around really fast. So we're just done with the 3 years where it has a life of its own. It knows it can survive. It knows it can thrive. And it needs, like our babies, we coach them until a certain age. And then they need professors, they need guides, they need, all these friends, they need partners, they need all these people to fly, to really grow. And I think we, as Policy Bachat, are ready right now to fly. And there are several ways to scale. Again, scaling is not just advertising like crazy on TV or going crazy on Google AdWords like several of the startup companies do. You could be very smart in using the right partners, technology partners, whether it is building partnership with apps, trying to drop your app on an app that is being used, on a banking app or any kind of finance app, and trying to be there and you're fully integrated with them. That is one way to scale. You can make if somebody has 100 million customers already, a banking app or a company that has 100 million customers, at least I would say 5% of them are looking for insurance this month.
Mm-hmm.
So those 5% are hot leads. You can just focus on those 5% as opposed to going after, all these other customers. And your success rate there is going to be very, very high. Since you are in their application, you probably already have enough data to generate, a quick quote.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to give a full-blown quote, but at least you can give them an idea of, what the quote is gonna be. So that is, building right partnership is one way to scale. Since the technology is in place, framework is in place, all the regulations and everything are done, and the model is in place. And scaling the sales team and all that is also not going to be as hard because we already put a culture in place, a process in place. We're just scaling that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just building the base takes a lot of effort. If your base is wrong, it won't succeed. And you have to take your time to build that base. You can't just take $10 million to pump it, and in 6 months suddenly the company is not going to be a $1 billion company.
Right.
It takes time for building. And insurance is an industry that is going to be there forever.
Yeah.
And it is a recurring revenue model, and it is a need. It's a necessity. It is no longer nice to have in India. It is a necessity. Everybody understands they need a life insurance, they need health insurance, they need car insurance or motorcycle insurance. And I think we're at a point where we need to build some good partnership. We need to bring somebody on board that can help us scale this thing. We have done most of the heavy lifting to build a model. The model is ready to go, and it took 20 years of my experience, and if you put the whole team together, I would say it's hundreds of years of experience because the programmers have been working on the most sophisticated raters that India hasn't even thought about yet, and the future, India will be going into cyber insurance, into general liability insurance, into commercial lines insurance.
Uh-huh.
And I think we will have an advantage there because we have already seen this movie before, and we have done this, and we still do this. We recently built like 4 or 5 raters, very recently,
Yeah.
a cyber insurance rater, and most of the companies are going online in India too. So everybody needs cyber insurance. So there is a huge market potential. We are not looking for venture capitals or venture partners. We are looking for partners.
So you're looking for a strategic
partner. That's exactly right. So we are looking for a strategic partner. I'm not looking for a venture capital firm coming and throwing money and then giving me a target saying, okay, we got to hit this thing and sell this off or something like that. We are trying to build something that'll be there, for generations to come, and it'll add a lot of value to the lives of people.
Okay. Well, Srinath, thanks for spending the time with us and everything. Amazing platform that you put together. I'm astounded to hear that you didn't take the millions and millions of dollars that the other firms out there did.
Right.
And I can't believe, given the way you said this is integrated from the lead all the way through to the sale,
right,
that the efficiency that's in place isn't a direct response of you self-funding it, because you were certainly making sure that this runs like a business and not like a
absolutely
crazy thing. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it and wish you all the luck in the world.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.